Hello. Today we come to card 18, the moon. In the progression that we've done so far, we were at the tower where the form broke the clear light free, and we followed the clear light, the star, um, a source of inspiration, hope, grace, and guidance. So today we encounter the moon, which is the lesser light. And in order to understand many of the meanings associated with the moon, you have to think about what the moon used to mean before the 1960s in space travel, when we discovered it was just a dry rock. Let me show you some of the images of the moon, and then we'll talk about what it meant, what it means in the context of a reading and in the context of our journey. Here's one of my versions of the moon. It is very simple. It just shows the moon and the silvery light of the moon and the ocean at the bottom, because the moon, of course, rules the tides, leads the tides. Here is the Rider-Waite version of the moon, and here you can see some of the scary images normally associated with the moon. The moon doesn't look too happy. There's a dog and a wolf and some sort of shellfish-like creature symbolizing primordial life coming out of the water again. And the two towers lead the way to what looks like a desert. Here emphasizes the aspect of the moon that leads towards lunacy, and love being one form of lunacy. Again, you see the shellfish-like creature. And Crowley's, which is shows again the shellfish-like creature, and it has the two towers and again Egyptian images. And I've saved the best for last, my image of the moon. I call it the best because I really like this image of the moon. You see the woman in the moon reaching down and touching the objects on the earth as a man, a traveler, walks on a path towards a safe haven, a town or a village. And as she touches the bushes and the trees and the rocks on the side of the road, you see them turning into various images: a scary monster, some sort of bear, a woman reclining, and again you see the ocean with the tides. I really like this image of the moon because it speaks to one very important aspect of the moon that is true now and was true in the past. The moon obviously lights up the night. So one of the meanings that often comes with the moon is confusion, illusion, disillusionment, lies, treachery, beauty, but not necessarily beauty you can trust. And the moon, we're not talking about the dark night of the soul here, because the moon is there, and the moon lights up the night. The night was traditionally a very frightening period of time before electricity made it much, much safer. It was easy for criminals or robbers to hide at night and to ply their trades. It was a dangerous time to be traveling, and along with people being able to hide, one thing that one can notice still about a night, even a night with a full moon, is that the moon illuminates. It illuminates the night, making it less frightening, but it doesn't illuminate it perfectly. It can illuminate it beautifully, and it can cast the gorgeous silvery glow that adds magic and poetry and an unearthly beauty to our world. But at the same time, if you're out on a moonlit night, things don't look the way they normally look, and that can also be scary. A bush can look like a monster, or a tree can look like a giant. So one has to be very careful dealing with the light of the moon. It can inspire, or it can make one feel ecstatic, but it can also be lying to you. It can be false, as they say, swear not by the moon. It's considered fickle. A lot of the images associated with the moon have to do with like a landscape that's covered with fog, or a landscape where you can't see where you're going, where you're just kind of feeling your way. So as we move from a situation of hope and guidance and grace, where we were sure of what was happening, at the moon we might start to doubt. We might start to doubt the image or the feeling or the sensation that came to us as we reconnected with the whole point of the path that we're on. What is required to travel the landscape of the moon is faith. And faith is the natural evolution of hope and of grace, too, both of which we encountered at the star. It's hope, but not a stupid hope. Hope as it also accepts fear, and where you trust the experiences that grace gave you. You allow yourself to believe in something bigger than yourself, at best an infinitely loving or universal force that is okay, that protects you, that this too will pass, you'll get through this, even though you can't see where you're going, even the fog may obscure your vision. The faith helps you keep the step after step after step. Even though you think there might be a monster ahead, or the shadows might hide something lurking, you just keep going, and that requires an act of faith, which is, as I said, the evolution of what we experienced in hope. Also, it's interesting to consider the nature of the shadows. Much of what the incomplete, the less totally brilliant light of the moon, what it creates is shadows that we can't quite make out, and that may again hide something dangerous or that are unclear to figure out. And the moon puts us in touch with our shadow self, the side of us that is it right, is it wrong, is it telling it what's true, that brings up doubt and confusion, or that can lead us to believe things that are inaccurate. The moon also rules the tides, which is most of the earth is water, and human beings are 97% water. So, and the moon represents emotions, the subconscious. So our water, the water in us is also changed with the moon, and our emotions may shift in this lunar landscape. Once again, we ask ourselves, is this true? Is this not true? How do I know what to count on in this murky landscape? Consider also that the moon represents alcohol and drugs, both of which are well known to cloud one's reason and to play with the mind's ability to understand what it sees or to correctly identify what it sees. And we know that most of happiness, most of our sense of well-being really comes from how we perceive the world. And the moon plays with that. It can make the world seem more beautiful than it is or more frightening than it is. So what we need, again, is faith as we travel through this lunar landscape, step by step. One can also think of the fact that the moon was formed early in the solar system's history when the Earth was hit by a planet. The closeness of the large body of the moon helped stabilize the Earth's wobble so that life could develop on Earth. So the moon, while it reflects the sun and reflects it incompletely and can bring up all these emotions, some of which are enjoyable but questionable in terms of being trustworthy, and some of which are frightening but also questionable in terms of being trustworthy, the moon is nonetheless an important part of ourselves as it delves into our subconscious, and it is also responsible in part for the development of our life. Next, we move through, again, the natural progression as we move from the reflected light of the moon through, with faith, through to the greater light of the sun, which is, of course, where faith takes us. See you soon.